on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an excellent start to your weekend. It is Friday. We know things can get a little bit crazy over the weekend. As we head into it, we are having a little bit of a dip. It looks like the dip did in fact take a dip. Now we have bounced back a little bit. You can see down here we got down to around $17,500. We have sort of been bouncing around the $18,000 level again. However, the biggest question right now is the dip actually over, and are we looking for even more of a correction? Is it possible for Bitcoin to still get above the $20,000 level by the end of this year? We only have a few weeks left before New Year's Day, and can Bitcoin do it? Well, that is the question that everyone's asking, and I'm going to be honest right now, there is a major shift right now that is happening in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Some of it is bullish. However, there is something right now that is creating a lot of fear, a lot of FUD. It is circulating some rumors, and if this does come out, it could potentially get very ugly short term for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and I'm going to let you know exactly what that is. We're also going to look at some possible levels realistically, just looking at the charts, seeing where Bitcoin may actually have a bottom locally. And I'm going to show you one really cool tool that you guys can use if you want to chart this yourself as well. And that is what we're going to talk about today. Will DeFi be able to actually defy the regulations, or are we in for a tough year ahead? So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. These videos are quite informative. Don't forget to turn on the bell notifications as well. Make sure you get these updates immediately. So let's hop in and let's look at the chart. Now, interestingly enough, we were starting to put in this descending channel. We did break. However, if you actually zoom out a little bit more, you will notice that Bitcoin has been forming an ascending channel. You can see right here, we topped out, right? We hit it again. We came down to the bottom, and then we had this confirmation here, which now we've just bounced off again. So Bitcoin may actually be entering a bit of an ascending channel, potentially. Now, like I said, it is the weekend. The weekend price action can get a little bit crazy since we do have things like the CME. They don't trade over the weekend, right? So we do get these huge gaps in the charts, right? Which I'm not going to go into today. We talk enough about gaps. But one thing we can look at, just really easy, is simply looking at Fibonacci retracement. Now, this is a very simple tool to use. You don't need to be a genius to figure out how to use this. You basically just start from the lowest point and go to the highest point of a move. Now, I'm going from when Bitcoin had this dip at around September 3rd to the top. And you could see right here that Bitcoin kind of does respect these levels. Now, I have no idea the mathematical equation that goes into how this actually works, but having a look, you can see that, for example, we got up here to the 0.38 and we did have a little bit of resistance. And once again, we came back down, and that was where we had our support. And you will notice that right here at the 0.23, we are having a bit of a bounce as well. So looking at some of these levels, you can get some of these ideas, right? If we were to go back down to retest this level here, then Bitcoin might be looking for a bounce at around the $16,100 level. The next level even lower would be around 14,970, and the next level would be around the 13,700, or that 13,000 kind of $500 level that we've been looking at. Now, just to throw it out there, you guys can, buy the dip, which is definitely recommended. Not financial advice for beginners, but don't forget, you can make money in these markets when Bitcoin and crypto goes up as well as when it goes down. You can short the market if you do think that some of these altcoins are going to go lower, and you can actually make money by doing that. Now, you could do that over on Bybit. However, I just wanted to let you guys know that sort of promotion that they had did end, but I do want to let you know that PHEMEX, they have a ton of altcoins if you are interested. They have XRP, Link, LTC, Cardano, Tron, Ontology, Tezos, Neo, Bitcoin Cash, and they actually do have a new deposit bonus going on right now. You can actually get up to $740 in bonuses using the links below. Check that out, guys. And also, you can do, if you want, free spot trading, like no fees whatsoever, totally free. They do have 3 different ways you could do it: registration gift, social media gift, or you can complete a few tasks, okay? So if you guys want to do some free spot trading, you can check that out below. And like I said, you can long and short Bitcoin, but do be careful if that is what you're looking to do. It is very risky for beginners, and I don't recommend it, but the options are there, and hey, you do what you want with your money, guys. Links below. But like Cole Gardner said, he said, I'll just leave this right here. Now, this is a very interesting fractal, which points that we could actually have a little bit more of downside pressure on Bitcoin. Now, keep in mind, fractals do not always play out. They're fun to look at, but you can see right here, he's broken it down into 4 zones where we have this blast off, a little bit of a cool off, a second pump. Then we have a massive, what looks like crazy rejection, which is this red right here. And then we go into this very slow purple sort of descending pattern where then we do actually look to retest some of these lower levels. You can see back here, we retested below 10,000. Then over here, we retested just above 10,000. And if we were, in fact, to fall down to those levels again, that would put us right here back into this green territory, right? Which would bring us right back to around the $15,500 level. So dips are for buying and for dipping Tostitos in, but having a look right here, there is a little bit of bullishness, okay? Let's talk about why you could get excited. The one thing you can notice short term on the 4 hour is that if you look right here, we have seen an increase in volume as the price has been decreasing. So you're seeing a decrease in the price and an increase in the volume. You could take this as a sign of bullishness in the sense that the dip has been getting bought. But let's talk about why specifically we have seen some of this sell-off. Now, one thing I want to talk about before I discuss why we're seeing the sell-off is the thing that you cannot ignore, which is the fact that after moving sideways throughout November, Bitcoin exchange balances have once again started to decline, which means Bitcoin is moving off of the exchanges, right? Where is it going? Well, we did have some confirmation actually from Binance that they were doing some restructuring. So some of it actually is Binance. They have admitted this, putting it into cold storage. So I just want to get those rumors out of the way. But we also have to consider the fact of high net worth individuals buying into Bitcoin and moving it into cold storage. And like Danny Scott pointed out, this could potentially create a liquidity crisis. Eventually, if there's not enough Bitcoin on the exchanges, it's going to be really difficult for people to purchase Bitcoin. And then inevitably, if you're buying spot, you're going to have to push up the order book, which means that the price will have to go up as demand increases, right? Now, talking about the total amount of Bitcoin, it has fallen to 2.3 million Bitcoin on exchanges, and we haven't seen levels like this since July of 2018. Now, let me just break this down for you. You may be tired of hearing this. What does this matter, K-Dub? Why are you bringing this up? Well, over the last decade, since Bitcoin's inception, the amount of Bitcoin held on exchanges has actually constantly increased. It has always consistently increased, even during bull markets, during bear markets. Yes, you may see volume drop, but it has increased over time. However, recently we have seen it falling with actually a massive decrease from December 5th, which was decreased by 2.5%, which was the fastest we had ever seen. Now, let's talk about what is happening right now. Well, the popular narrative is that institutional Bitcoin investors have been leading the 2020 price rally and buying the Bitcoin. But do we have any evidence of that? Sure, a couple companies have come out and said that they're interested. Well, actually, having some data, in 2020, the number of wallets defined as a set of blockchain addresses controlled by a single entity holding at least 1,000 Bitcoin has increased by 302, or up 17%, and is now at a record high. Now, this is according to Chainalysis. Philip Gradwell, he's an economist over there, he says that is a big increase in the wealthiest wallets and provides evidence that institutional investors have in fact entered the market. So we are seeing money moving off of the exchanges, and we're seeing these huge whale wallets holding over 1,000 Bitcoin accumulating, right? And this is definitely showing us that the institutions are coming in. In fact, you might have seen this from the Wall Street Journal. MassMutual has just joined the Bitcoin club with a $100 million purchase. Now, without going through this article, Crypto Potato actually broke it down quite well. Keep in mind, they are an insurance company. An insurance company has just purchased $100 million. Did the insurance company purchase Bitcoin as insurance against the falling dollar value? Well, that could be a possibility. The report, and this is huge, by the way. This is actually bigger. I feel like I'm downplaying it. It's huge news, actually. The report indicated that the Bitcoin purchase is part of MassMutual's strategy to, quote, take advantage of new opportunities while continuing to diversify their portfolio. The company also noted that having an exposure to Bitcoin will give it measured yet meaningful exposure to a growing economic aspect of our increasingly digital world, as they put it. You also have New York Dig founder and executive chairman Ross Stevens said that other insurance companies have also expressed interest in buying Bitcoin, while a few have already done so through his firm. So do you understand what this means? Insurance companies, the people who insure you when things go wrong, are now turning to Bitcoin to insure themselves against the falling value of the dollar. This is mind-blowing. This is massive. This is a new paradigm shift, right? In fact, if you didn't check my Twitter, I retweeted the fact that, CZ from Binance, he had pointed out, nowadays you're seeing all this news coming out about all these different firms buying Bitcoin. However, maybe even in a year or so, we're not going to even care, right? Because now it's going to be the norm for these companies to do it. Companies who don't purchase it are going to be in the news, and it's going to be bad news for them. That's what he said, right? So discussing why things could be getting ugly. Why is it selling with all of this good news, all of this positive stuff coming out? Why is the price selling? Some people, especially if you're new to the space, don't understand that. How could a market do such a thing? Well, Trader Roman broke down why an ugly week in crypto could potentially get uglier. Now, we do have a mixture of technicals, fundamentals, and a sprinkle of FUD in there, right? So you have the Ichimoku weekly twist. You have the Trump FUD, which we'll get into later. What is the Trump FUD? If you don't know, we're going to talk about it. CME anniversary, right? Everybody always gets a little freaked out when they think about the all-time high and then how the price just continued to plummet. Also, don't forget, I was talking to my dad and he broke down, people start getting a little weird around this time. You have the holidays, people kind of pull out cash so that they can buy stuff for their, loved ones, families, and also tax season. People are already kind of thinking about that. So that is also just something you have to consider. Mt. Gox, right? We heard about that scary news about finally having those coins dropped on the exchange. And overall, Bitcoin might just be due for a correction. Not to mention that we do have the XRP airdrop. Oh, and news about IOTA dismissing their founder. So kind of getting that negative news right now. But this is the big news, and you already know about this, but like my buddy Alex Saunders pointed out, rumors the U.S. crackdown will begin next week. This is what people are worried about. They are saying that this could be one of the final implementations of the Trump administration before leaving, or essentially leaving their mark. Now, we know that Donald Trump has expressed he does not like cryptocurrencies. He is not a fan of cryptocurrencies. He has publicly tweeted that he believes they are nothing more than thin air. He says crazy policy from those fearing a technology they don't understand. Unfortunately, this kills U.S. crypto innovation, and markets won't like it short-term. Caution. And this is a very, very real scenario you need to be concerned about. These are those black swan events that a chart, technical analysis cannot predict. You could be the greatest TA analyst in the world, and you would not foresee something like the pandemic hitting and all the markets crashing. And this could be a little bit of that black swan event. This could throw a wrench in the gears. It would also bring to pass the worst case scenario envisioned by industry players when the Financial Action Task Force, an intergovernmental body, told its members, different countries, that they're going to have the so-called travel rule. Now, this was already applied last year. So this rule requires financial institutions to collect information about the sender and the receiver of transfer. But it was a little bit ambiguous as to what it means for Bitcoin. If you were to say transfer something from Coinbase to a private key, which let's say you had written down on a sheet of paper, right? This is where things get tricky. That, coupled with the fact that they're looking to potentially make certain stable coins that aren't 100% regulatory compliant illegal, which means if somebody sends you some Tether and the US isn't okay with that, you could be participating in an illegal activity. That is insane. And that is creating some kind of FUD right now. Now, I Could we be getting a little carried away? I mean, we've seen lots of FUD in our time. We've seen the China FUD, the India FUD, the South Korea FUD, multiple FUD from US, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? At the end of the day, it will pass, okay? And we know that regulation is coming. We don't want it to come. We want everything to be a perfect decentralized utopia, but that's also not reality. And if you really do want Bitcoin to get to the masses, to actually move to everyone, then it's going to have to become, unfortunately, sort of somewhat compliant, right? We're going to have to, disclose your earnings. And yes, taxes are going to be involved, but that is how an asset grows. If you want it to get accepted, there are gives, takes, pushes, and pulls, compromises that need to be made, unfortunately, right? Now, talking about why it is still an amazing future for Bitcoin. We have the Block Show Summit that happened in Singapore, and you had Zach Prince, he's the CEO of BlockFi, and during this discussion, he identified 3 major Bitcoin adoption trends that are basically inexplicably, he says inextricably, linked to millennials and younger investors. And these are the ongoing wealth transfer from baby boomers to the younger generation, right? You have the growth of alternative assets and also the huge shift to digital, right? Everything is digital now. I mean, everything is digital. Like, people don't even want to, it used to be where you would go somewhere and they would only take cash, right? They're like cash only. Now you're seeing people say credit only. They don't even want to accept the cash. It's like totally topsy-turvy from everything that had happened even just a few years ago, right? Now, on the flip side, you are seeing a lot of naysayers turning to Bitcoin. These banks, these companies, these high net worth individuals, the latest to join the bandwagon is Wells Fargo. Now, Wells Fargo, 2 years ago, they prohibited their customers from having their money to buy cryptos via their bank card, right? They said you're not going to buy cryptocurrencies if you have a Wells Fargo account. Well, interestingly enough, on December 7th, the subsidiary specializing in investment advice of Wells Fargo Investment Institute, published their report on an investment strategy, which, would you believe it, actually had a section on Bitcoin. Under the actual headline, Bitcoin, the best performing and most volatile asset of 2020, the Wells Fargo affiliates admit that the group of assets with the highest returns this year are in fact cryptocurrencies. Now, they do go on to, of course, have their little bit of wild, wild west aspect to it, saying cryptocurrency investing today is a bit like investing in the early days of the 1850s gold rush, which involved more speculating than investing. But they say cryptocurrencies could become investment worthy one day. Over the past 12 years, they have risen from literally nothing to a $560 billion market capitalization. They say fads typically don't last 12 years. And if this is a fad that's lasted over a decade. Now, we can define the decades, right? Think about the decades. Think about the 70s. What do you guys think about, right? You think about like groovy, love, peace, right? The 80s, right? Big hair and the electronic and hair metal and all that other, whatever you think of the 80s, neon colors, right? What do you think in the 90s, right? The 90s has that like sort of, grungy sort of, people think of, why am I describing things in music? I don't know. I'm into music today, I guess. But essentially, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can kind of always look at decades, whereas Bitcoin has surpassed an entire decade, right? We're in the next decade of Bitcoin, and yet it's only gaining more and more validity. So I would definitely say that Bitcoin is, in fact, not a fad. And according to Tyler Winklevoss, he says that the latest investment from, just MassMutual specifically ensures that Bitcoin will, in fact, hit a valuation of $500,000 per unit. He says these types of investors in the bull run are very different. They're super sophisticated institutional investors like legendary Paul Tudor Jones, Drunken Miller, etc. So yeah, what does this mean? What does all of this mean essentially? Should we be worried? Well, these guys are not worried, right? They are actually for the regulation. In fact, you had Kevin Leary come out saying he would only invest in Bitcoin if there was a Bitcoin ETF. So in one hand, you do have the guys that are taking the leap of faith right now. On the other hand, to get that push, you are probably going to have some form of regulation. Now, talking about some altcoins, and this actually does tie in a way. So what does this mean? Does this mean that it's over for DeFi? No, I don't think so. I think people will still use DeFi. I think it's going to be virtually impossible to actually control really any of the super DeFi stuff. I mean, you'll be able to trace it, but can you really ever stop it? I mean, even if you were going to ban Bitcoin, which the US said they're not going to do, it still doesn't prohibit cross-border transfer. You can send Bitcoin to anyone. It's the internet. The internet is everywhere, right? And I talked about the recent partnership between Elrond and Orion protocol, right? But, you know, in this article, they went on to say the important question becomes, how do we aggregate all liquidity layers scattered across various centralized and decentralized exchanges? And this is what Orion protocol is doing. And this is something that really kind of ultimately will not be able to be shut down, right? Something that actually can bridge this. So they talk about a unique value layer connecting liquidity streams across centralized and decentralized exchanges. By incentivizing a network of brokers, they are effectively opening an infinite bridge across many islands of liquidity located on disparate systems, enabling free flow between actors, platforms, blockchains, etc. So, you know, kind of before I move on to the next altcoin news, what does this really mean for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and things of that nature? I mean, what it might mean ultimately is, yes, you have a ledger. You're going to have a bunch of different Bitcoin addresses. But look, if you're going to use the Bitcoin for anything, right? If you're going to either buy something directly with Bitcoin or you're going to convert it to funds, then you're going to have to declare it as a US citizen, right? So you may have to have one wallet that it has to pass through. I mean, technically, when you think about it, if you have a Coinbase account, you're already having a verified wallet anyway. So, I mean, as long as you are proving it's yours, where it came from, you're showing where you spent it, where you converted it, and you're paying your taxes, then at the end of the day, I don't actually think this is any FUD. We shouldn't really worry about it, but you guys know short-term news could make things a little bit crazy. Now, we still, in my opinion, have a lot of great uses for blockchain. I still think Bitcoin is the best form of value ever that the world has seen. But talking about things like Ethereum's ecosystem, Polkadot's ecosystem, or even different tools that blockchain can provide, there are a lot of projects. In fact, one project right now that is currently looking to have their IEO, this is happening on December 16th, 9 UTC over at PHEMEX, is Utopia Genesis Foundation. Now, maybe this is why I had music on the brain. Now, you guys may not know this about me, but I actually used to be a music producer. I was also in several bands. So, and I was on a minor music label, nothing big. I wasn't like famous or anything, but I have been involved in, you know, how these things work. I still to this day get royalty payments, very small. I'm talking literally like $70, I think, the last time I checked my account. But my point is that there is recent optimism, according to these guys, related to the increased revenue from digital streaming, live performances, etc. But they say despite even vinyl records getting big, right, that the wider music industry does still suffer from a decline in revenue. So given the prevailing trends, they say it's more important than ever to fundamentally restructure the music and entertainment ecosystem. Now, this might seem like a strange use case for blockchain, and they're not trying to disrupt it at all. In fact, I think they're trying to complement it. And I've always said things like blockchain voting, which I know people might disagree about that, but hey man, if we had votes on the blockchain, would we be having this debacle that we've been having going on, right? So these guys are looking to do stuff like that. And currently in the development, they have the Genesis application owned by the Genesis Foundation, Utopia Genesis Foundation. Artists and owners of the music can sell a share of their work's copyright revenue to the community. This is where tokenization can come into play. So these guys are going to be tasked with getting the framework out of the ecosystem, and a big focus is going to be on providing a suite of applications to make creation and monetization easier. They're also going to be focusing their energy on helping third parties build applications for the ecosystem and enhancing business for all the players, right? So what exactly is it about them that, you know, separates them? What makes them, I guess, better than some of their competition? Well, for example, they do have an insane network. Like, just to actually break it down for you guys, if we talk about why they're better than other music projects, this is also just in my opinion, by the way, nothing financial advice, but other projects on the blockchain is that they actually have access to over 8+ billion music consumption data that is being collected from over 150,000 radio stations daily. And they will have that available for third parties. Like I said, they have tokenizations of a song. So just think about how cool that would be for fans to be able to participate in, say, like crowdfunding, right? Taking that power, or not taking it away from the record label, but I guess more like giving it back to the artist, right? And with the data they have, they can access and predict in the future, how previous artists have done and where, etc. Like basically you can really collect these data points necessary that you can't really get right now on a lot of these centralized sort of entities, I suppose. And Insight application lets the artist see what of their songs is being played in what country and region every week, month, year, etc., so that they can constantly stay in the loop to have the best data, essentially for their stuff. And if you guys are more interested in checking out Utopia Genesis, definitely have a look. But I do like these projects that sort of touch real world problems. Like, it's interesting to see blockchain. I mean, we saw the United Nations, right? They were working with LTO, which was absolutely insane the other day. And yeah, I do get excited about stuff like that. So, I mean, check them out if you guys are interested. I don't know if you guys are music fans or not, but I thought that was pretty big news. And also, just want to end on the point that, for example, we're seeing this headline, and I'll end here. I think that's enough for today's video. But we have the S&P Dow Jones partner Luca raising $15 million in preparation for, yes, you guessed it, institutional influx into crypto. So they're saying that the startup is helping the market index provider dive into the crypto markets, and they're going to SPDJI, which I did mention the other day, are going to look to launch their own crypto indexes. And why is this huge for crypto? Not only is this just Bitcoin, you're talking about I think they said 550 different altcoins potentially. That's crazy. Just think about how crazy that is. So that is going to be a lot of opportunity for people to get in. The infrastructure is being built. The pipes are being built. Could we see a dip? Yes, we could. But it doesn't mean that I'm becoming a bear. It just means I'm being realistic, right? We went up really fast, really hard, and there's going to be that cool-off period. Plus, we do have a little bit of that FUD as well. But that is it for me, guys. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Don't forget about the PHEMEX links below in the description. They do have $740 worth of bonuses available. And yeah, I mean, and you can get literally free trading, like totally free by, doing these certain things and whatever. So check that out below in the description. Thank you so much for coming back to this channel. And yes, by the way, if you guys want the extra $140, you actually do have to use the link below. Obviously, you are helping to support the channel, but hopefully it's a win-win, guys. It's a two-way street here. I do this, you guys watch, I love you, you're awesome. Also, free Telegram group. If you're interested, check that out. But that's it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. It is the weekend. Chill out. Don't be refreshing the Blockfolio all day. It's just crypto. It's just Bitcoin. It's going to do what it does. Thank you so much. You guys rock. Sorry for the long video today, but hey, had a lot to talk about. I didn't make one yesterday, so had to talk about a little bit more today. That's just how the cookie crumbles. You guys rock. My name's K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.